go on a run in the NCAA tournament, the PGA Tour comes to Austin, and men's swimming and diving lights the tower for the 14th time. This is College Press Box. Welcome into College Press Box. Thanks for joining us on this Monday night. I'm Thomas Fitch, joined by Turner Barnes.
Texas men's swimming and diving are national champions for the 4th straight year and 14th time overall under head coach Eddie Reese. The Longhorns needed a late charge on the final day of the NCAA Championship meet in Minneapolis this weekend to get past the Indiana Hoosiers and Cal Golden Bears. 2 freshmen helped spark the comeback as Austin Katz swam to a gold medal finish in the 200-meter backstroke, and diver Jordan Wendell took silver in the platform diving event. Seniors Jonathan Roberts, Brett Ringgold, and Joseph Schooling cap off perfect careers in Austin, winning 4 titles in 4 years.
Last night, the team landed back in Austin and basked in the glow of a bright orange UT tower with the #1 inside, a tradition they're pretty accustomed to at this point.
You think about Connecticut women's basketball, you think about things that have UCLA, John Wooden, you think of Eddie Reese in Texas swimming. What he's done here is second to none in the modern era. It's unbelievable.
We were not as good as I would have liked to have been. We had a lot of misses where we usually are really strong. Same people, we weren't real strong. We got a lot better at the end of the meet.
I remember coming in freshman year, and the team had a chip on their shoulder because they had gotten second by small amount of margin. And I came in and kind of really ingrained that whole chip on my shoulder. It's just been awesome to kind of continue what the people that have come before me and kind of continue the tradition that they've started.
Over spring break, second-seeded women's basketball kicked off the NCAA tournament at home. They got off to a good start with wins over Maine in round 1 and Arizona State in round 2. Our very own Daniel Shih was at the game against the Sun Devils.
As Ariel Atkins and Brooke McCarty were introduced for the last time in the Frank Irwin Center, the Longhorns faced Arizona State in the second round of the NCAA tournament. It was LaShawn Higgs, however, that led the charge in the first quarter, shooting 70% and scored 15 points in the first half. But McCarty went off in the second half, scoring 8 points in just 2 minutes and led the Horns to victory over ASU.
It was Brooke. I started smiling, I think, halfway through it because I just realized that this kid was going off. And so it was really fun to be playing with her and to see her smile, and then to just see her being Brooke again, free-flowing, just having fun playing the game.
With a convincing win over Arizona State, Texas has now advanced to Sweet 16 for the 4th consecutive year. For senior Brooke McCarty and Ariel Atkins, it also means that they have advanced to Sweet 16 every year in their career.
When it's all said and done, what they want to look back on, you just always want to be able to say I did the best I could. I think I maxed out. Whether it be that the greatest feeling of all is to win a championship and be done, because there are no regrets from there. But that doesn't happen but to one team every year. So the rest of them have to finish up and say, okay, did I do my best? Did I absolutely max out with my career? And those two can sleep well.
The Horns' opponent in the Sweet 16 will be Pac-12 Power 3-seed UCLA.
Yeah, they're really good. Seen them a lot, just randomly watching Pac-12 games in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, and then we obviously got to look at them, not purposely, but in prepping for Arizona State.
The Sweet 16 game between Texas and UCLA will take place on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Central in the Sprint Center at Kansas City. From the Frank Irwin Center, this is Daniel Shih, TSTV Sports.
On Friday, the women's basketball team played in its 4th straight Sweet 16. The Longhorns were looking for a bid to the Elite 8, but the UCLA Bruins had other plans. We start in the 3rd quarter, where Joyner Holmes makes a good defensive play, going coast to coast, but drops it off to LaShawn Higgs, and Texas goes up 40-39. Then, Brooke McCarty, behind the back, pulls up for 3, knocks it down, and Texas goes up 43-42. The bench is excited. Then McCarty again on the next possession, going for the left-handed layup, but wait, no sir, spin cycle, right-handed layup. Longhorns go up by 3, but UCLA Bruins are not done. Monique Billings with a great pass to Kennedy Burke. UCLA takes the lead. And then LaJonna Drummer puts the dagger in Texas's heart. UCLA would go on to win 84-75. They advanced to the Elite Eight, where they would meet their demise against Mississippi State. Oh, for more on this women's season and what's next to come, let's go to Thomas, who's with women's basketball guru Daniel Shih.
Daniel, always glad to have you on the show with your expert analysis. In your expert analysis, what happened to this team against UCLA?
Where do I start? Texas had made a bunch of sloppy mistakes in the beginning of the game, especially the end of the first quarter where they committed 3 consecutive turnovers. With a minute left, UCLA jumped from a 1-point lead to the 8-point lead in a minute. 8 points might not seem a lot in basketball, but this Texas team is so prone to hostility and momentum shifts that it seems like 20 points. They just couldn't fight behind. When they were behind, the players start making unnecessary passes, creating turnovers, etc. UCLA was able to score 17 points off fast break during the game. Texas only 6, and that's just not good enough, especially for Texas, who's well known for its transitional offense. 6 points just doesn't cut it. Aston used uncharacteristic in her press conference. I think that's a perfect description of the game. Texas could never get a turnover. They committed a bunch of turnovers, but you have to credit UCLA. You have Jordan Canada and Monique Billings, who scored 22 and 17 points respectively. Texas just couldn't stop them.
Yeah, this is a team finished second overall in the Big 12 in the regular season play. Then they finished runner-up in the Big 12 tournament, a 2-seed in the NCAA tournament, but then they were upset by UCLA in the Sweet 16. So is this an encouraging or a disappointing season?
Well, personally, I felt disappointing at first just because I had them going to Elite 8, and they weren't close. UCLA beat them by a lot. And on the second end, you have Texas has Ariel Atkins and Brooke McCarty, who are national caliber players, but could never get into Final Four. Actually, only get into Elite 8 only once in their career. That's not good enough for me. Texas never played with the ambition of going to Final Four, as they stated in the beginning of the season. Pre-season press conference where Karen Aston said we want to go into Final Four. Did not play with that ambition when they played against Baylor, UCLA, UConn. Lost to Baylor 3 times. That was not good. If you lost to Baylor 3 times, I don't think you're going to get into Final Four. I think the program overall has to feel responsible for not going to Elite 8 just because they didn't prepare the players well enough to face hostilities. Which obviously you're going to face a UConn or Baylor. You will have to come up with a way to face that. But this team never did, and I think the program has to take care of that. However, that being said, they did take care of every other game they're supposed to win, except for one loss at TCU, and that's disciplined culture and a consistent mindset, and that's harder to teach. We complained about men's basketball a lot on this show. Women's basketball, we didn't have to complain about that, and that's harder to teach than purely skills. So that is one good thing. I think Karen Aston's doing a great job here in Texas, but we still have Texas still have a long ways to go.
Yeah, you bring up McCarty, you bring up Atkins, who are graduating from Texas. Great careers here, but you're going to have to replace them. You bring in some good freshman players, but what's the future of this Texas team?
Obviously, Atkins and McCarty are national caliber players. Very hard to replace them. Very hard to replace their points, but I think the harder part to replace is their leadership aspect. Karen Aston and all the other players during press conferences mentioned how they led the team, kept the team focused in the locker room. I'm not sure if LaShawn Hicks or Jatari White can take over that. LaShawn Hicks can give you 15 points a night. Jatari White can give you 17 points a night. But can they lead the team's mentality like Atkins and McCarty, who proven themselves in junior and sophomore year? I think that remains a question mark. But Texas does have help on their way. They have Carly Collier and Sedona Prince being ranked the 1st and 3rd best forward/center by ESPN. That's essential because we both saw the Baylor game. They need rebounds if they face a Baylor or UCLA or Mississippi State if you face them. So with recruits like that, Texas will have some help. If they're good enough to play next year, that's a great sign. But leadership is more important than that.
Yeah, well, Daniel, one last time, and again, your women's basketball analyst.
Thanks for having me.
Analysis just spot on. Hopefully a good season next year. When we come back, we'll head down to the Austin Country Club where the best golfers teed it up over the weekend in the World Golf Championships Dell Technologies match play. Welcome back into College Press Box. This past week and weekend, Austin Country Club hosted one of the biggest tournaments of the year, the WGC Dell Technologies Match Play. It featured not just the top 70 players in the world, but also 3 former Longhorns who we'll touch on later. Let's head down there for some highlights. Patrick Reed and Jordan Spieth matching up on Friday. Winner goes the weekend. Spieth struggled early. He was down 2 through 4 holes. Both players struggled to keep the ball out of the hazard. They had a combined 4 balls lost in the first 3 holes. Spieth gets a shot back on 5 to go 1 down. Now here at hole 11, where the match was all square, he hits that chip short out of a tough lie, and he is frustrated. Head over to hole 13, where Patrick Reed is now 2 up. Spieth trying to get it close, get a shot back, but he's going to go long, and he is going to be frustrated with that 2. Reed would go on to win the hole and go 3 up. Here on 16, Spieth needs this putt to continue the match, and he gets it. Now just 2 down on 17. Patrick Reed with the putt for the win. That's going fast. It needs to hit something, and it hits the bottom of the cup. Patrick Reed wins the match and goes on to play in the weekend. Speaking of the weekend, let's get some weekend highlights. Sergio Garcia, Kyle Stanley. Sergio Garcia, whose wife is a Longhorn, but he can't get the lucky Longhorn roll there on 17, and Kyle Stanley will get it. Stanley goes 2 up heading into the 17th hole. Sergio with a par putt to possibly extend the match. Can't find the bottom again. Very frustrated Garcia. So Stanley will have a putt to win and continue his Cinderella run, and he's got it. He defeats world 7th ranked Sergio Garcia and moved on to the quarterfinals where he faced off against Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas at hole 11, he's 1 up, putting for birdie up the hill. Make that 2 up. Thomas leads through 11. Now on hole 12, putting fiasco here. Kyle Stanley, his putt, that'll miss the hole. Now Justin Thomas, 4 feet, that has to be good. Nope, he can't believe it. Kyle Stanley, 2 feet. No, not today. Justin Thomas, surely that can't miss. And finally, we get off of this green. 13, Stanley finally makes up a shot to go just 2 down. Hole 17, Thomas up 2. This chip, if he makes it, he wins. Just misses it. So the door's left open for Kyle Stanley. A putt to continue the match. No good. So Justin Thomas wins, moves on to the semifinals where he would lose to Bubba Watson. Also in the semifinals, Kevin Kistner would defeat Alex Noren in a thrilling playoff, setting up for a all-Bulldog championship match. So let's look at that. Hole 1, Kevin Kistner trying to start off the match well, and he does just that, hits it to about 15 feet. The birdie putt, unfortunately, would not fall. That'd be the story of the day for him, struggling to putt. Meanwhile, Bubba Watson gets the birdie putt to fall. He's 1 up through 1. Matthew McConaughey was there to take in the action. Watch Kevin Kistner and Bubba Watson. Kistner with this shot on hole 2. That would come up short, and he would have a tough downhill par putt to try to save the hole. That can't find the cup. He goes 2 down through 2. Tough bunker shot on 4, which would set up a tough uphiller. And again, another putt, just missing the cup. Kistner falls 4 down through 4. He would lose 5 to go 5 down on 6. Finally gets 1 to drop and get back to still 5 up. Bubba Watson on hole 9. Kistner out to the right. Bubba Watson is in close. He would make that for birdie. So Kistner on hole 11 needs this one to drop to continue the match. Can he finally get one to go? And he does. That means we're headed to hole 12. Hole 12, Bubba Watson, nice little pitch up there. He's so creative around the greens, using all the curve to get it up there for a nice close par putt. Kistner with the par putt and it will not drop. That means Bubba Watson has this putt to win, and it goes in. Bubba Watson wins his 11th tournament win in his career, gets a hug from his mom, and hoists the trophy for his second tournament win of the season.
Thomas, you mentioned that there were 3 Longhorns in the field. You were actually at the course, so let's see how they fared.
The fans were out at the World Golf Championships Dell Technologies match play as former Longhorns Jordan Spieth, Jonathan Vegas, and Dylan Fratelli teed it up in Austin this past week. While Fratelli isn't one of the most well-known former Longhorns, Spieth noted his development over the past couple years.
It's been awesome seeing Dylan's success overseas and obviously working his way into the top, 60, 50 in the world and continuing to improve. And he's just the same person he's always been. He hasn't changed a bit in the last, 5, 6 years.
Unfortunately, both Fratelli and Vegas struggled early on, giving them no chance of advancing.
It was a little bit of a frustrating run overall because I had a bunch of opportunities to really have the match, but it was a tough one for sure, and I just got to go fix a little bit of the putting and.
Unlike the other 2 former Longhorns, Spieth came into Friday with a chance to make it into the weekend tournament. After wins on Wednesday and Thursday, Spieth faced off against also undefeated Patrick Reed for a shot at the round of 16.
Yeah, of course it was exciting to play Jordan. Really, I think no matter who you're playing, when it's a literally a winner move on kind of format, you're going to get excited about.
Despite the hype, both got off to a rough start, finishing the first 3 holes at a combined 5 over.
It's just kind of one of those days that, with how the conditions were, it wasn't fun. With how windy it was, it was hard. It was a grinder's day out there. You weren't going to see a ton of birdies. And there's going to be just who doesn't make mistakes and who's able to grind out some pars and maybe make a birdie here or there.
Despite the poor start, it ended up with an exciting finish as the match came down to the 17th hole.
Just kind of the range I had. I'm sitting there thinking 2 putts to win, to win the match, and it just happened to be perfect line. And thank God, because that thing was moving.
Even with the disappointing loss and not making the weekend, Spieth felt like the week helped him improve his game.
I'm just trying to continue to make progress. I have emphasis on 4 events a year, and anything in between, especially as we get really close to them, is leading up to it. So I felt like I can certainly take something out of this week.
Spieth will tee it up next on April 6th at the Masters. From the Austin Country Club, I'm Thomas Fitch, TSTV Sports.
So Spieth touched on it in the package. But how is he looking going into arguably the most important tournament of the season with the Masters, a place where he's had quite a bit of success?
Well, he's looking okay right now, but he's lacking momentum. He struggled with his driver last season and really through his whole career, but this winter he kind of worked on that. He just took the whole time to just focus on that. But the problem, this is kind of the problem all golfers struggle with, is when you focus on one thing, another thing usually kind of falls by the wayside, and his putting has declined. He said at the tournament he knows if he can just get a putt or 2 to fall, he can get hot, just like he did at Royal Birkdale, where he won the British Open last summer. He didn't look great coming in the Masters last year anyways, not making out of the group stage in the Dell match play like this year. Then the next week he didn't make the cut at the Houston Open, still finished 11th. So he knows the course, he likes it a lot. It's a place where he doesn't have to play his best to be in contention. So I think he's in a good spot. He just needs to get some confidence.
Yeah. Well, it was a really exciting tournament, but what was one or some of the most surprising moments?
Well, the most surprising thing was all the big names that went down early. Obviously, Jordan Spieth goes down early, but also Phil Mickelson, world #1 Dustin Johnson, Jon Rahm, who's the 3rd-ranked player in the world, Rory McIlroy. All those guys, they didn't even make the weekend, which is just incredible. Also, guys like Sergio Garcia, Matt Kuchar, they didn't make it past the round of 16, so that was surprising. The other thing that was surprising to me, not as much, but Kevin Kistner in the final round just getting blown out, getting destroyed. I didn't see that coming. He had been playing so good coming into that match, and granted, you're playing a lot of golf over the 5-day tournament, so there's fatigue there, but he had won the day before 8-6, and to go from winning 8-6 to losing 8-6 the next day, that's something that I don't think many people saw coming. But if you watch him from the first tee on, he just never had it.
For sure. Coming up next, we talk about baseball's series with the Oklahoma State Cowboys and softball taking care of business against the Jayhawks.
Welcome back into College Press Box. Texas baseball took on Oklahoma State this past weekend here in Austin. They came in with a record of 13-9 and at the top of the Big 12 Conference. On Friday night, it was all Oklahoma State as the Longhorns offense could only muster a Zach Zubia solo shot in the bottom of the 9th inning. Texas went on to lose 6-1. The Horns flipped the script on Saturday as Nolan Kingham went 8 strong, giving up just 1 run. Duke Ellis and DJ Petrinsky led the way offensively with 2 RBIs each. That would be enough as the Longhorns would go on to win 7-1 to set up a rubber match in Game 3. With the series on the line, let's head over to the dish. Let's go. Top second, Jake Taylor double off Chase Sugart to put the Cowboys up 1-0 early. Then Trevor Boone single up the middle. OSU leads 2-0. Bottom 5, Horns trail 3-1, but not for long. Cody Clemens with a double into right. That'll score 1. Next batter, Ryan Reynolds, a single into right. That'll score another run, and we are tied. But coming up right after that, Mason Hibbler breaks the tie with a big, deep triple. Horns take their first lead of the game, 4-3. Bottom 8, Cody Clemens. The bat flip says it all. Big home run. The Horns go on to win 10-5 and win the series over the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Texas softball was an even 13-13 coming into their weekend series with the Kansas Jayhawks. The Longhorns started conference play with a 10-2 stomping of Kansas thanks to 7 runs in the first inning. Junior center fielder Kiadra Hyder belted a 2-run home run, her first as a Longhorn, and junior right fielder Becca Alcozer, not to be outdone, hit a 3-run homer. Saturday's game was a little closer when Texas managed to get 5 runs across while only allowing 3 hits. With the series already in the bag, let's see if the women completed the sweep. Brooke Bollinger in the circle for Texas got the game off strong, 5 scoreless innings and 5 strikeouts. Then Becca Alcozer ropes a double, bringing in 2 runs. The Longhorns go up 2-0, and that's all they would need. Erica Wright came in and shut the Kansas Jayhawks out, pitching the final 2 innings, giving up zilch. Texas gets the 3-0 win and complete the sweep in their first conference series.
The men's tennis team handled Tulsa with little trouble on Friday with a 7-0 sweep to improve to 12-3 on the year. After taking the doubles points, the Longhorns won all 6 single matches and failed to surrender even 1 set. The match was clinched by sophomore Christian Sisgard with an impressive win over Tulsa's Joshua Goodger at second singles by a score 6-3, 6-2. The Longhorns are likely to get tested in their next match against Tulane on Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Texas Tennis Center. Tulane is currently ranked 32nd in the nation, while Texas sits at number 11.
The Longhorn women had another great weekend with 2 wins to move to 13-4 on the season while remaining undefeated in conference play. On Friday night, the Longhorns swept the 49th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners 4-0. On Sunday, the Longhorns had a date with the Cowgirls of Oklahoma State. Despite Oklahoma State's high stature and success so far this season, the Longhorns took care of the 12th-ranked team with another 4-0 victory, giving them a combined 8-0 match record on the weekend. The 8th-ranked Longhorns will head east next weekend to take on the 18th-ranked Florida Gators in Lake Nona.
When we return, we look ahead to the coming week in Longhorn sports. Welcome back into College Press Box. Thanks again for joining us on your Monday night. Let's check out the teams in action this coming week. Baseball will take on Texas State Tuesday night, 6 p.m. in San Marcos. Then Thursday to Saturday, they'll travel up to Kansas State, where they'll face the Wildcats. Softball will face Stephen F. Austin here in Austin at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, and then travel up to Ames, Iowa, for a battle against the Iowa State Cyclones from Thursday to Saturday. The tennis team, men's tennis, will take on Tulane Thursday at 6 p.m., and the women's will travel to Florida, will take on the Gators Sunday at 4 p.m. The 40 Acres will be host to the Clyde Littlefield Texas Relays. That'll be this Wednesday through Saturday. Well, Turner, I just got to congratulate you. Great bracket. You predicted 3 of the 4 Final Four teams. Who you got winning it all?
I got Kansas Jayhawks taking down the Michigan Wolverines in the final game.
Final game?
Yes, sir.
Well, I had Michigan State, so my bracket's busted, but congrats to you. That's all we have tonight. Anyways, I'm Thomas Fitch. That's Turner Barnes. Thanks for joining us on this Monday night.